This is Spoiler Country, a podcast about comics, movies, whatever, but mostly comics. Enjoy.
Previously on Spoiler Country.
That was the awkwardest pause ever. How'd he help you? We're friends on Facebook. Dead silence.
That means it's perfect.
Hey, welcome back to Spoiler Country. I'm Kenric Regan. That's John Horsley. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Ryan Cody. He does a lot of independent work. He does a lot of podcast work. And we're really excited to chat him up.
And he likes Harry Potter a lot too, which is awesome.
Yeah, and he likes Harry Potter, which is awesome. And we got in contact with Ryan because we were lucky enough to do an interview with Scott Godleski, who co-hosts The Illustrious Gentleman with Ryan Cody.
Which is it's a fun podcast too. It's a little different. I like it though. I do.
Well, it's just two guys, just like us, just talking. They just happen to be both really good artists.
Right.
We only have one artist on our crew, so
you can draw stick figures. It's okay. You can do stick figure comics.
Stick figures.
Yeah.
I do a mean Garfield.
Isn't Garfield always mean? Isn't he always mean though? Oh, gonna get some lasagna.
I don't even know why I said that. I have never even attempted to draw Garfield.
Because you want to feel cool.
I think it's the eyes, because you know how he does, was it Jim Davis?
Yeah.
Does the eyes? That's how because I used to read Garfield when I was a little kid, that's how I do my eyes when I make little faces or I'm doodling. So that's as close as I get.
That's your artistic ability right there, is Garfield eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, when I was in grade school, he had a contest. So I was like in third or fourth grade, and he had a contest to create a new character for the Garfield strip.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you were like 2, and
I won.
Yeah, of course you did. No, but I drew I drew a beaver, and I had a character build up. I can't remember I wish I had this thing, because I got a letter back from Jim Davis saying that I had made it to like a certain round.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But I don't remember. It wasn't. I mean, obviously, I didn't win. I would remember that for the rest of my life. But it was something. I don't know. I was like probably. I don't know what round I made it to. I made it to a certain round, and but my beaver was a vegetarian that liked steak.
What?
Yeah. Well, I was like in third or fourth grade.
Did you know what a vegetarian was?
No. Yeah, I did, because my sister Trisha, your mother-in-law, wanted to be a vegetarian. And she was trying it. Yeah.
She failed that hard.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't remember what round I made it to, but not, obviously I didn't win.
At least past the first round of rejections, right?
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. I made it through the first round of rejections, and I had a little letter from Jim Davis that came to my school to me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. It probably wasn't him, it was probably the publishers, but regardless, it was fun.
That's pretty awesome. I entered in some stuff, like not like that, but art stuff when I was a kid, but I don't remember the details of any of them.
That's funny.
I know I never won anything. I don't think I did, but yeah. I did a talent show playing my senior year of high school, playing bass guitar, and I won best musical performance.
Oh, that's cool.
I beat out full bands playing just a bass by myself. No words, just a 2.5 minute song of me playing bass.
That's hilarious. That's awesome. Actually, not hilarious. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When I was in grade school, I did band, and I wanted to play the saxophone like everybody at that time did. Everybody who was going in for band for some reason wanted to play saxophone. I don't know why.
That's odd.
But
whatever.
Yeah. So I begged my mom, get me a sax. I want to play saxophone. She came home with a clarinet.
They're both wind, I guess.
Yeah.
Ish. Well, one's a brass, but
I think it came down to price.
Well, yeah.
I think one was like $100. The other one was like $250. Guess which one you're getting?
The $100 one.
Yeah. It probably wasn't even $100 then. But anyways, speaking of doing a talent show, so they did a talent show where you can do something. And I did actually okay. I was like second chair. It wasn't like I was bad. You know what I mean? I wasn't like in the middle where you're the worst player. So
they weren't hiding you.
Drowned you out. But me and this guy, his name was Trip Chenault. He was a very nice guy. He lived in the neighborhood down the street from my neighborhood, and right in the middle of Pine Hill. And we did a duet where he played the snare drum and I played the clarinet, and I guess just haphazard to guess that it was just horrid.
That sounds horrible.
Oh man, I feel bad so we were like in 4th or 5th grade. So anybody who went to Traceton Elementary back in like 1983, 1982, I'm sorry.
Apologies accepted on their behalf.
No, but I'm really excited to talk with Ryan. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be, it's got to be a good conversation. I mean, I'm excited. The only thing I wish we would have read something he's done before we talk to him, but I mean, we'll read it afterwards, I'm sure.
Well, he's done a lot of independent stuff. But I think we're going to find out about his Dark Horse thing that's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Did a whole like independent call. I think it was Doc Unknown. And then Dark Horse just released it, the omnibus. So that should be fun to talk about. And I'm actually excited to actually read that now. So
yeah,
it'll be good. So without further ado, let's get into our interview. And here's Ryan Cody in his own words. This is a Spoiler Country intermission.
Just give you guys some ideas of what we're working on, what's coming up in the future here on Spoiler Country. We've got currently the Scott LSC Copperhead giveaway on Twitter. Just follow us on Twitter. Tweet us #SC Copperhead. Enter that to win. We're going to hold it open until we actually get the comics from Scott, so we can post a picture of them so everybody can see what they are. As soon as we have that from him and post a picture up there, we're going to let it go for a day or two more, and then we're going to close it out and pick a winner.
That's good, because we should have that book by Saturday, the 16th, and then we'll post a picture as soon as I have it in my hand.
Right, because it's going to you, not me, because you stole it. We got some cons coming up. So we were going to be at RenCon this weekend, but plans have changed and we're no longer going to be there. But we will be at Jet City Comic Con on November 4th and 5th. I'll have a table there. I'm sure Kenric will crash my table and sit down. It'll be great.
Oh, yeah.
We got Emerald City Comic Con coming up in March. There's probably going to be another one in between there, but I don't quite know which one they are yet. Emerald City is a big one. We are currently working to get press badges for that. So we'll hopefully be there as press with the press badge, go to the press junkets and have a lot more information about upcoming comics, kind of like we did in San Diego. That's our plan. If that doesn't work out, we'll still be there talking to people and doing our thing. We also got the second part of our Rose City Comic Con show coming up. We got to record that and talk about some of the other stuff that happened on day 2 and day 3 of that show when I was there. I also have an interview with Clay Holio that I did there that we're gonna play on that show, kind of round it all out and kind of finish up that whole conversation about Rose City. We have a very special interview coming up that'll be out next week with a book we've talked about to other creators on this show, Silver by Stephen Franks, who's going to come on and talk about that. We're going to talk about Iron Giant, all that kind of fun stuff. So we've got some exciting things coming up. So stick around in the future weeks.
Okay. There you go. Well, we're here today with Ryan Cody of the Illustrious Gentleman show. How often do you guys put out a show on? How many times do you guys put out an episode? Once a week, right?
Yeah, once a week, but sometimes, especially in the summer when Scott's kids are home all day. My kids are older than Scott, so I can just tell him that I'm going to go in the closet and record or whatever, but his kids are smaller, and so they're more curious and stuff like that. So it's hard to do a weekly show during the summer or when they're on like winter break or Thanksgiving break. So I think we've been releasing them for just over a year now, and we're on episode like 40, 45 or 46. So we've had a couple skip weeks, but
that's awesome.
Pretty much weekly.
Yeah, we just started in July, and this will be episode 27.
Oh, wow. So how often do you guys record? Or release?
Our goal is 2 a week.
Oh, wow. That's ambitious.
We just have a lot of fun. Now, Johnny's got he's got a brood. He doesn't have kids. He's got a brood.
I have 5 kids. 5 kids.
He's got 5 kids over there.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. How do you find time to do anything?
Lots of chloroform. No, I've got a almost 15-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6 and a 3-year-old. So they kind of all take care of each other. So
yeah,
they're out watching TV right now, and one of my daughters is over at cheer practice. So they just kind of watch TV and play together. And they may burst in the door because sometimes we're recording, they bust in, Dad, we need blah blah blah. But just kick them out and they're fine.
Yeah. Right.
Have
you used Zencastr like we're using today?
I have not, but now, so on our show, Scott and I, we a lot of times we have trouble coming up.
You do the double ender?
Well, I edit both separate audio files together, but we've been looking for a way to get a quality third person on, just because we're terrible at thinking of topics. Like that's always the hardest part. So so we want to do more interviews, and so I've been trying to read up on some of these third party recorders. But
this one works pretty well, but you can't call into it. So if they don't have any like ability to bring up Chrome, right? Because you got to use Chrome or Firefox. Chrome works the best because that's what it was built for, is for Chrome.
Okay.
But if they need to call in, then you're kind of screwed.
Right.
Okay. Does it record straight off your laptop or?
So what it does is that it records locally for everybody. Right. So when we end this today, it'll say, wait, don't go anywhere while it's uploading your audio track to me.
Oh, okay. But I don't have. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll get 3 separate audio tracks, one for John, one for you, and one for me.
Oh, okay.
It's really nice. And then we just use Audacity.
Yeah, that's what I use too. Maybe I'll maybe Scott and I will mess around with this program.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Pretty easy to use.
It's worked really well. And the nice thing is, Ryan, is the version that we're using is free.
Oh, nice. I like free.
I think it's up to 4 people, right? 8 hours a month.
It's 3 people. I think you get 3 guests total on 8 hours a month for free.
Oh, including the host.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you get 8 hours a month. And I think we've only gone over the 8 hours one time.
Right. And then
that was in August.
And even then, if you go over, what you can do is you can use Zencaster, don't hit record, just record locally, and still use it as a VoIP connection.
Right.
Because we've done that before too.
Yeah. Yeah, because it sounds better than Skype or Google Voice.
Yeah, it's coming in in really clear. So we haven't tried the Google Hangouts, but I know that I have my internet connection is spotty. I live up in the mountains, and it's a major city, or not major city, but it's a normal sized city, but our internet sucks. And Scott lives kind of on the outskirts of Phoenix, so it's so neither of us have the world's best internet connection, so we're nervous about using Skype.
Oh yeah. There's another one too. It's called Source Connect Now. You'll have to record locally, but it does a pure ISDN between the two, so you get a really good audio with it. I just found that one the other day.
Cool.
It's really good. I've been listening to this podcast called Podcast Engineering with Chris Curran. And the guy's been an audio engineer for like over 20 years. And he got into podcasting like 5 years ago. And he just gives you tip after tip after tip on what to do to correctly run your podcast. It's really good. And he's doing a whole school called the podcastengineeringschool.com. It's kind of expensive though. It's like $2,500. And I was like, I would love to do it because this is all new.
Because you're a perfectionist and you want to do it perfect.
Yeah. I got to have everything kind of perfect. And it's like, I started on the Blue Yeti. Then I had that for what, John? I had it for 59 days. And the reason why I know is because I bought it at Guitar Center, right? And I got the extended warranty, the pro coverage or whatever they call it. I liked the Blue Yeti for when we went down to San Diego Comic-Con. We actually drove down and we put the Blue Yeti in the car and we did a show while driving to San Diego from Seattle, Washington.
We weren't driving. We were in the back seat, but the car was moving on the freeway.
Yeah. And so we used it, and then we used it the whole time down there because it worked actually pretty well. But I didn't like the fact that John has a pretty decent setup at his house, and you could hear the difference in audio quality noticeable to me. And I was like, I can't do this.
Right.
I can't be on a subpar system when my co-host for every show sounds that much better. So
I just have a better voice. That's all. No problems.
Yeah. So I took it back. It was 60 days to return it for a full refund, and I took it back at 59 days.
What are you talking through now?
Now I bought a Shure SM58, so it's still a low level, because I have a full-time job, but I got a 3-year-old at home and bills and everything else.
Oh, one kid.
You made that choice, buddy. That's your life choice. Don't blame me. So it was like $99, and then I bought a Behringer Q502 USB, a little 2-channel mixer, and that was I think $70, $60, and it just sounds a lot better.
I just plug my Snowball straight into the laptop. I don't have like a mixer or anything.
Oh, is that what you do at the office?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You guys sound pretty decent, though. It's like I'm never annoyed when I'm listening from the sound. Your sound quality is never annoying, so it's good.
Yeah, we both just record straight into Audacity, so you can check your levels live and all that. So it seems to work out.
Yeah. So, so Scott was telling us that you've done quite a bit of independent work on the comic book scene.
Yeah, I mean that's like 90% of what I've done is small, kind of boutique indie projects, I guess would be the way to describe it.
So Johnny has a project that he's actually in the middle of working on called the Eins Anthology. I'll let him explain it.
Or let me explain it. That's why I have you around to explain stuff.
But you told me you didn't need a hype man anymore. So
no, I didn't need one in San Francisco. No, so I basically what it is I built this family tree. It's about 600 years from the 1500s to 2113. Created like 260 characters, give them birth dates, death dates, a little bit of backstory in each character.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And then I hired 25 writers to write 4 to 8 page stories, and then I'm illustrating the whole thing. And basically what they're doing is they're writing a story that takes place somewhere on the timeline with some member of the family, and the whole thing it evolves around the supernatural.
Well, that's
so there's
cool.
Stories from coming to America, stories in Europe, stories in World War I, World War II, stories in the future. So it's all related, but each story is very different.
Yeah, the cool thing is that all the writers that he's hired are from all over the world. So he's going to get a really neat perspective of each thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be different.
That's cool. I like that. I've always been a fan of like legacy type characters, so that's kind of in that same vein.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I wanted to create something that was a little different. So it's my idea to go different with a quote unquote anthology, but it's all the same artist and it all deals with the same family, and so it's all kind of interconnected in its own way, which is awesome.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't know what to say. It's
sounds ambitious.
It's a big project.
It's very yeah. Well, Scott's words were that's fucking ambitious.
He's foul mouth. I'm the nice one. He's potty mouth over there.
Well, we tend to swear quite a bit.
Sure.
It happens. We don't mean to, but it does happen. Of all of your projects, which one that you kind of hold dear that maybe we can go and check out? And because we love to read the independent stuff, you know what I mean? Because we kind of feel like that's where the real spirit of comic books lies.
Right. So I guess there's 2 answers to that. The one that's kind of nearest to me is probably the first project I ever did, just because back in the, like 10 years ago or whatever, 12 years ago, Jesus, however long ago it was, there were lots of different indie publishers and indie books got good coverage. And, we were in Wizard, and it was a book called Villains, and it was
cool.
for a publisher called Viper Comics that I don't even think is around anymore. So, I mean, we got coverage in Wizard, all those sites would pick it up for review. It got optioned by Universal. So, I made some good money on it, and it was the first thing I ever did, and it was creator owned. I co-created it with a writer.
Oh,
but
cool.
I wouldn't recommend that just because it was the first book I ever did. So I'm not happy with how it looks. So I recommend checking out Doc Unknown, which is kind of the book that I worked on the last couple of years that was just collected by Dark Horse into like a huge omnibus 360-page monster thing.
I think I saw your tweet about that.
Yeah, that came out this past summer. Dark Horse Books put it out. So
were you talking about it on your show?
Probably both.
Yeah, I think I saw your. Yeah, I think you tweeted that out. Yeah, it's called Doc Unknown, and it was getting released by Dark Horse because I was like, I thought he said he was independent and he's got stuff coming out on Dark Horse.
Yeah, so I've done some Dark Horse Presents work in the past, and I did a couple issues of The Phantom with Dynamite, and I've done some anthology work at Image, but the majority of my work is kind of like, individuals hire me to draw their books, and they usually don't come out, or it's like kickstarted or something like that. But the Doc Unknown book was something that the writer Fabian created, and he funded the first volume, and then we kickstarted volumes 2 and 3, and then once it was all done, Dark Horse agreed to put the whole collection out. So
that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
we'll have to check that out. That would be a fun read. And then we'll go through and tell you what we think about it, because we're
that's the
shitty
best
that
part.
way.
No, we're going to start with Villains and start with your first book because you brought it up first.
Oh Jesus!
No, we're kind of homers when it comes to comic books, especially with Johnny there, because he understands what it takes to actually put something out, from the ground up.
Right.
And it's a lot of work, and I don't think a lot of people understand it. And then when they go in and they read something and they just trash it without really understanding what kind of work went in to build that thing, we're not really I don't know. I'm not really down with it.
Well,
if I don't do a review, if we don't talk about it, it's because we didn't like it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I know. That's one blessing about being in indie comics is there's not a lot of bad reviews because I think most people really got to go out of their way to be an asshole, and they don't do that for. Well, not everybody. Some people are just assholes, but most reviewers,
right.
they feel like it's okay to piss and shit on a Marvel or DC book because it's a corporate book, and they wouldn't normally do that on an indie book, where if they have any kind of
Right.
idea of like you said, the amount of work that goes into it. So when you work in indie comics, you tend to get a lot of good reviews because those are the only ones you're getting. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, my thing is you can as a reviewer, because I actually used to review comics like 10, 15 years ago, and you can write quote unquote negative reviews of a comic and it still not be an asshole review. You know, you can write constructive criticism reviews and talk about this is why I didn't like this book, but not be a dick about it.
Yeah, constructive criticism is a positive thing.
Right. It's like you're hoping that they can take what you're saying and get something out of it. Like, oh, you know what? I didn't even realize that I did do that. I did write that loop.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's funny that you brought up the Marvel DC and people shitting on Marvel and DC on storylines, because we actually talked about that a couple, I don't even know how many episodes ago. We did a whole thing about reviewing books and that it's easy to shit on Marvel because you do have runs where a writer, an artist kind of phones it in. Because they're like, oh, I got paid and I'm not really into this character, and they just kind of phone it in.
I think maybe. I guess I'm always going to side with the creators on that, and I'm going to say that people don't trust me. There is plenty of times that pages get mailed in and the work gets kind of hacked away at, but a lot of that is just because the work's got to get done, and I've talked about this on our podcast before that. You know, X amount of work has to get done in X amount of days so I can get paid X amount of money to pay my bills.
Right. Well, see, you're coming at it from a completely different experience than me, right? Because for me, it's just like I've just been a reader, you know?
Right. Everyone wants to do good work, and everyone goes into every page thinking they're going to do good work. But the deadlines are deadlines, and the work's got to get done. So sometimes there are shortcuts that have to be taken, especially on a Marvel and DC book where they don't really care. You know, corporate comics, they don't really, I mean, they want the stories to be good, sure. But the bottom line is they want those books to be out every month to keep the monthly pace and keep the trades coming out and all that stuff. So that's the number one criteria, especially at Big Two Comics.
Yeah, because I guess if you miss deadlines, they're like, well, we'll just get somebody else to do it.
Yeah, there's no loyalty there.
Yeah, there's no loyalty there, right? Because a lot of people are working like in a freelance style,
right? Yeah, I'd
right?
say 90. I mean, there's some guys who are exclusive and shit like that, but even that's still freelance. It's a type of freelance. So unless you're like a critical darling or you're working on a book it's one of these like, specialty projects or something like that. For the most part, you're replaceable at these companies. So if you don't get the work done, they're going to pay someone else to do it. So.
I'd be okay waiting for certain books.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
If it meant that the product coming out is going to be better.
Yeah.
Like I bring up like the reason that we had Scott on is because I absolutely love Copperhead. I got it when it first came out and I fell in love with it and I've followed it ever since. And I don't mind that they take, 6 months in between volumes, or I think between volume 1 and 2 was like a year.
Yeah. Scott's a slacker though. So, I mean,
this is true.
Yeah. Something like that. Something like that. That's a creator-owned book that you're not Image. Image might want you to release monthly, but you're not going to get fired from your own book if you don't. So it's easier on a creator-owned book like that.
Right. On your guys' last episode, you were talking about collecting original art. So do you do more collection of original art, or do you collect comic books as well, like older stuff? Because you said in your email that you weren't really up on current books as much. But
yeah, I don't. My pull list is probably like 3 titles, and I don't really have that run that I'm trying to complete or anything like that. So I don't buy back issues, and I don't. But I have plenty of comics. I collected comics from the age of 12 to the age of like 19 or 20 pretty religiously, and then from like 22 to like 26 pretty religiously. So I probably have, a good I don't know, 12 long boxes worth of comics, but just currently I only read about 3 monthly titles. And then even those books aren't always monthly. So, I don't read a lot of comics, but I also don't collect a lot of original artwork because that's obviously much more expensive. So I do try to get a new page or at least a new sketch every time I do a show, but that's only like 3-4 times a year. So my collection is slow going. Yeah.
I want to be able to collect original stuff, but it's, I start looking and I get onto, there's not a lot of places to go and physically see them. Right. So I end up going to eBay. Right. And that might be like the worst place to go. It's hard to find anything that's, less than like $700 sometimes from what I'm looking at.
Right. Yeah. It all depends on what you're looking for. I would recommend for people that are just getting started to, a lot of times inkers will sell pages for less than a penciler will. Sometimes inks, cause nowadays with the blue line process, it's getting very rare for an actual penciler to mail a physical page to an inker and the inker actually inks it nowadays. Mostly they print out a blue line version and they ink it. And so the pages that they sell, they're going to sell for cheaper because it doesn't have the actual pencil marks on it. So it might be a little cheaper, although I think that trend might be stopping as well because I don't know if people really care anymore. But the first couple pages I bought, to finish up my rambling here, the first couple pages I bought were from inkers, and I was getting pages at like $20 a page or something like that. And, so check newer artists and check inkers, and if you're willing to own a page that doesn't have a superhero on it or the main character on it, you're going to get a good deal on those pages.
Yeah, Carl Kessel at Rose City last weekend was selling Batman 66 Green Hornet pages or Man from Uncle pages that were inked for $20 a page that didn't have like splash page and stuff. So he's the inker on that book, so they're pretty cheap if you look for the right person who has them.
That's Carl Kessel page is the first page I ever bought. I bought a Mike Ringo Spider-Man page that did not have any main characters on it at all, and I paid I think $20 for that. Yeah,
I love Kessel.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love Carl. He's awesome. He's a good guy.
Yeah, him and Johnny are buddies.
Well, he helped my wife with her Harley Quinn tattoo. And every now and then we talk about, comics and Harley Quinn and kids and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. So my first one I tried to buy, I haven't bought any original art yet. I've just been collecting comic books, since I was a little kid. And then I took a, 20-year hiatus or whatever. And then about 2014, I got back into it. But now, the books that I want to collect, I have some on my pull. I got some Batman stuff and some other things on my pull list, but I tend to try to find more of the back issue stuff, like I'm getting Conan #1 and #2 here pretty soon. And I bought like Batman Adventures 12 but everything I want to buy, it tends to be, out of my price range. Cause I really want this. And so then I was like, well, maybe I should do some original stuff because I really just want to put them on my wall.
Right. Yeah.
And so I started on eBay and I almost got a Bernie Wrightson original Batman that he did, but it wasn't for a book. It was just a sketch that he did. But the guy wanted to buy it now was $700, but then he was doing a bid and then he took it off the buy it now and he left it on the bid and it sold for like over $2,000. And I'm just like, I couldn't even afford the $700.
It's also Bernie Wrightson too. So, I mean,
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I get that it was Bernie Wrightson as well, but I like the idea of looking at the inkers and even though that trend might be going away, but still looking and trying to find some cool stuff. Because Bernie Wrightson was the first guy that I thought of because that was my favorite artist growing up, right? I had his trading card collection of the Frankenstein trading cards, and I absolutely loved it. So that's why I looked him up. Yeah. But I just like to see cool stuff. So if I see somebody that I really like, then I'm going to get it regardless.
Well, it's like back in 2002 when I had Mike Grell draw Sandman for me.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. Mike Grell, Green Arrow, never drawn Sandman before, and he did me a Sandman commission up in Seattle, and it was pretty awesome. I still have that. I need to frame it and put it on the wall somewhere, though. It's sitting in a box.
Yeah, you do. You didn't want to get it ruined.
Yeah, I got all my stuff is framed.
Yeah, not mine. I have a box of art back here of buying. I've been buying original art and stuff since 2001, 2002 ish, and I have a couple framed on the wall. But most of it, because I just moved recently, is sitting in a box back here waiting to be reframed or framed and put up somewhere.
So Ryan, I guess you must be a big Harry Potter fan, because we went to your your website.
Lovely segue.
Yeah, totally. That's pro. That's smooth.
That's a hard
right there.
segue right there, man. It's a hard left turn.
That's how I roll, yo. So I went to, was it super75studios.com?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And I got to say, a lot of your art is really cool, dude.
Thanks,
that's not blowing smoke. You do some really cool work. So I'm really interested in checking out Doc Unknown and Villains. But I'm a big Harry Potter fan. John's a big Harry Potter fan. And I cracked up when I read what your new podcast is going to be. And has the first episode been released yet?
No, I didn't even record it on time yet. I was supposed to. I've been slacking. It's hard to. I think to use a phrase my parents taught me and always said was, I think I bit off more than I could chew. Was it was an idea that I wanted to do, and I had all these grand plans for it, and then actually putting it into effect was much harder than I thought. So,
dude, it's a great title though. My Patronus is a podcast. That is an amazing title.
So, thank you. The premise of it originally was going to be I was going to talk with other creators and go chapter by chapter through the books. And then I realized that it's hard enough to line up guests, much less if I give them homework ahead of time. Like if they have to read a chapter and take notes on it so we could talk about it, that was getting impossible. So I kind of refigured it out to what it's going to be. Is it's not necessarily going to be Harry Potter focused. It's going to be I'm going to have conversations with other creators about whatever it is they're passionate about, right? So if it's a certain movie or a certain book or exercise or self-improvement or, yoga, whatever the fuck it is, whatever it is that gets them going and out of their funk, I want to have a conversation with them and maybe that'll help me, get the tools I need so that I can be a better person sort of mentally and living in my own brain. So for me, my go-to is Harry Potter. So, I have the audiobooks. I'll put them on when I go to sleep or, I'll listen to them sometimes in the
version?
car. I have the Stephen Fry books, the British versions.
Good version. That's the better version.
Yeah. I mean,
I didn't know there was multiple versions.
Yeah, there's an American one and a British one. The British one by Stephen Fry is so much better. That's the one I have, and I have him on my phone. I listen to those quite often.
Yeah, so for me,
awesome.
basically, that's kind of like what I do to kind of shake the cobwebs off and get out of any funk I'm in. So the podcast going forward is going to kind of just be whatever the person I'm talking to, find out what tips and tricks and stuff that they use to get themselves out of their little writer's block or their funk or whatever. So I'm still planning.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool.
still planning on doing it, but it's just fallen behind. It's hard to find the time really and to lock people in for it.
Yeah, I think you put a date.
Yeah,
on your website.
I know.
You might want to change it.
I try.
That's good though, because you're putting out dates to force you into things, so that's not a bad thing. Like I tell Johnny all the time, I'm like, man, let's tell everybody about Ein's Anthology, because then that puts that pressure to keep going and to keep working on it. So he has Andy Kubert actually tracking him on where he's at. So I mean, that's awesome.
At least one person cares. That's not me.
Right. So I putting the date on your website, it's good. But I was like, I saw the date and I was like, oh, that's a really cool. I love the title so much. I'm like, I'm hooked on the title alone. I gotta listen to this thing.
A solid title, man.
And then I looked all over and I'm like, there's no podcast on
Not
here.
yet. Yeah, I should probably bump that by another month or so. But I'll get it dialed in at some point.
I think it'll be
Thanks.
good. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I like the concept.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, I'm a podcast whore, so I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I try to go on as many podcasts as I can. And I'm all in the podcast world. I've been doing them since 2009, so I love them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Johnny got me into podcasts. He's like, we got to do a podcast together. Because when we get together, so Johnny's actually married to my niece.
Oh, okay.
And so we see each other over every family function, right? But we talk like every single day, and all we talk about is comic books. I don't know. We don't do it. I mean, I don't do comics for a living. I have a I have a lame corporate job, but
Yeah, me too.
you should. Yeah. Then we have our Facebook IM, and all we're talking about is comic books and what we wanted to do. And he's like, we got to do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, all right. Not having any idea what it was, I knew what a podcast was, but any idea how to do a podcast or to be a part of a podcast. And he just said, just go get yourself a Blue Yeti. And I was like, all right. So I went and bought a Blue Yeti, and then we just started going, man. And we just started going. And now it's like, if I could do this full time and drop my day-to-day job, it'd already be done.
Yeah,
Right.
I like it.
And so I think that's why we're doing so many of them,
Yeah, I think I kind of bullied Scott into this. I mean, it was kind of like I think it was an idea that at one point Scott was like, oh, we should probably record these conversations. And then I was kind of like, or maybe he was the one who thought of it. But then once he thought of it, I kind of like ran with it like nobody's business. I mean, I was like, okay, let's do this. And I set everything up. And I think Scott was kind of like, oh, geez, so now we're doing this. But it's been fun, and I like doing it. And I don't talk on the phone much. And other than talking to my wife, I really rarely talk to other adults at all. So my weekly phone call, my weekly phone call with Scott is probably good for my mental health, I think. Although not always.
Yeah. They're very cathartic most of the time, sitting here just talking about whatever's on our brains and comics and just ranting.
Yeah, we do a lot of rants. We had a huge argument a couple episodes ago about Superman. So, I mean, it's all good. It's all good. I don't know. I can't see, because I'm not a very creative person, right? I mean, I played guitar when I was a kid, and I still know how to play, but I never played in a band because I could never keep time. And so when people are like, let's jam, I'd be like, no, I don't want to, because I can't fucking keep time with you. And so I always just played for myself, and that was enough, I got to the point where I could play and sing like 60 some songs, and I was happy, And then I got, then I started going to college, started doing everything, and my creative outlet went away. And so now this is my creative outlet. This is what I like to do and have fun with. And I don't think it's hard to find something that you can be passionate about and want to do it, right? Because now we're doing this, but we still have to record an intro, we have to record an outro, and then someone has to edit it. And we go back and forth on the editing, but it doesn't really bother me to have to do the editing because it's all part of the experience. And then once you post it, and then we're such dorks, we sit there and watch the listens. Oh, we got 5 listens in like an hour. Oh my God. And then, and we only average around, I think we're getting around 20 listens per episode, and we're trying to figure out how do we get more, because we want to get more,
right?
Because we want money from it, right? We do want to monetize it, but we don't want to monetize it because we're freaking greedy. We want to monetize it so we can just do this.
Right.
And then do the other things we want to do.
Going back to what you're saying about like creative outlets. So basically when you draw comics, but that becomes your living and it becomes your job, then it's no longer like the fun hobby, outlet thing that you had before. So that this is kind of, traveling and doing these podcasts is that for me. Like, I guess it's my hobby. But yeah, I would like to, first of all, I edit everything. I edit all the podcasts. So I would like to monetize it at least to the point where if I spend, a couple hours every week editing our podcast, I feel like I'm getting paid for those hours and I'm not eating into billable time on work projects. So, I think monetizing it is the key.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we could monetize it more than we already do. But then again, I don't know. It's that's almost a full-time job is promotion and trying to get sponsors and sending out emails and shit. I mean, that takes just as long as everything else. So,
yeah.
Oh man, dude, Ryan, we tweet out on Spoiler Country, right? And then I immediately log back on as me, and then like and
exactly
retweet. And it's like, it's such a pain in the ass. And it's just like, I see other podcasts that are in the same vein as us, right? And I'm not going to talk bad about anybody, but I'll just say their banter is not, it's boring, It's like, I'm done. But they have like 1 billion views, and it's like, or, downloads and listens. It's like, how do they get to that point? Or am I just thinking we're better than we really are? Which is probably the case, right?
Possibly, but they're also, those people have been doing it for a couple years. We're 2 months in. I mean,
yeah. But that's what I started thinking, because I want to, like, how do I get to this next point, or how do we get to this next level? And I think it's all fun. It's all part of the process.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess I the way I look at it, and I don't know about Scott, but the way I look at it is, if nothing else, these are going to be kind of like conversations that I can look back on when I'm old or whatever. Like, not everyone gets to kind of hang out with one of their best friends, and
yeah.
I'm lucky that I get to hang out with a guy who just got done drawing like 3 issues of Superman, and I get to, so I work in indie comics, but I get to spend time hanging out with a guy I get to watch his career kind of
really cool,
get bigger and bigger, and I could still talk shit to him, on a weekly basis, or text him on a daily basis, and
awesome.
And we've been friends for like almost 10 years, so it's fun for me, and it's a fun kind of document to, I guess, the relationship we have that was only through comics. I didn't know him before, we both were doing comics. So
yeah, that's really cool, man. Cause I feel what you're saying. Cause like Johnny and I, when he got married to my niece, like 14 years ago or something like that.
11 years
12
ago.
years ago. 11 years ago. And we didn't talk a lot. Like when they were going out just dating, I don't think we ever talked. Except for maybe hi, And it was only really the last 6 years or so that we really, I think once we realized, oh, you like comics? I like comics. What? And just start going over. And I think we bonded over comic books as well. And it's fun to see him working on his projects and going to like the Comic Cons, like the Portland show, and sitting in Artist Alley and actually putting his stuff out there and getting people to actually purchase his stuff. It's like once you've been made money off your art, you're no longer an amateur, right?
So to be honest, Kenric, the first thing we interacted with was at a Thanksgiving dinner at your brother's house, where I told you I had a book on Amazon, and you went and bought it and then read it and laughed at me for the characters I had in the book.
Well, yeah, because you're family, so I'm going to support you, right? You said you made a book and you had it. Of course I'm going to buy it. I thought it was awesome.
It's a shitty book, but thank you.
Well, Johnny had a web comic for, how long did you run that thing?
2003 to 2016.
Holy shit!
With some breaks.
Yeah, it was called y2cl.net, right?
Yeah, that's the URL for it. Yeah, but it was just called Y2CL.
I don't know what any of that means.
It was basically well, just the name was just Y2CL. It meant Y2 Christ Light for a long time, but then I dropped it because everybody kept asking me if it was a religious comic and shit, and I'm like, no, it's not religious. It's just a name. So I dropped it to Y2CL, but it was basically a way for me to make fun of all my friends.
Oh, okay.
At the time, I was in college. I made a joke webcomic mocking all my friends, and all my friends had characters in there. And I made one of the guy, my friend Dylan, always be masturbating under a blanket. Just ridiculous shit.
Well, that's commitment. That was 9 years or so.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, we did it for a while.
Actually, now that he says that, commitment 9 years, it reminds me of just what is that movie with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg and their cops, The Good Guys? Is it The Good Guys?
Yeah.
And he's making fun of like the ballerinas, and he does a full-on thing, and she's like, "Did you learn how to do all that just so you can make fun of me, a ballerina?"
It's commitment.
Yeah,
it's commitment. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yes, it is. It's the long, slow con. You know what cracks me up though, man, was your episode about Scott trying the Bloody Mary for the first time.
Scott's. You look like a baby when you try to feed it like green beans, like baby green beans, and they make that face and it dribbles out of their mouth, and that's pretty much the face he made when he was trying my delicious ass Bloody Mary.
See, you and I are of the same mind when it comes to Bloody Marys, and Johnny and Scott are the same mind of they're disgusting, and I'm like, no, they're so good, and they're so good for breakfast.
Yeah.
To be fair,
especially on a day that you don't have anything else going on, man. It's just like,
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was like, to be fair, my opinion on anything alcoholic doesn't matter because I don't drink, like hardly ever. So my opinion doesn't matter on that.
Yeah. Well, that's your loss, then, I suppose.
Yeah, that's just more beer for me.
Right.
Because I like the fact that you guys do that. You guys are drinking, and not drinking to get drunk, but drinking, a good beer and then talking about the beer that you're having. How did you guys get that sponsor that you had?
Which one? The one who sent us the beer?
Yeah, what was their name? I want to say Trivago, but that's not Trivago.
Trivago is a travel site. It was Tavour or Tavour. I still haven't figured out how to pronounce it. Yeah, I just emailed them because I thought they would be a good sponsor for the show, and they didn't want to sponsor the show, but they offered to send us some beer, so they sent out some beer for us. And then we were talking. I'm not sure how, through Twitter. Another guy who's a brewer somewhere in the Northeast, he's going to send us some beer here in the next couple of weeks too. So we highly encourage that. So yeah, anyone.
Oh, that's cool.
In lieu of financially sponsoring an episode, if people send us enough beer, then they become the sponsor of that episode. So
please send.
Yeah, pretty much.
Please send beer.
Right, and we have a couple like really good friends who listen, and occasionally they'll kick us. I have a PayPal button on the website, and they'll kick us like $10-$20 to buy around. So we don't always have to buy our own beer.
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I'm going to have to buy you guys around now. That's an amazing idea. I like that. Do you ever come up here to Seattle?
I used to for many years in a row. I want to say like 2000 and maybe 9 through 2013 or 2014. I did Emerald City every year. But once they got bought.
How was that for you?
It was good. Once they got bought by Reed Pop, though, I stopped getting invited. So I haven't been back. I haven't been back in like 2 years.
It's hard to get in now because of Reed Pop. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and so I love Seattle, but also one of my best friends used to live up there, so it was I could kill two birds with one stone going up there for the show. He doesn't live there anymore, so I would definitely go back and do the show again. But it's an expensive show to travel to, and But I loved it. I loved the show, especially back then. Like I said, I obviously haven't been in a couple of years, but when I was going, it was great. And I love the city. I love the Pacific Northwest. So
it's still a good show to go to, but as an artist in Artist Alley, it's really hard to get in because on their questionnaire to get in now with Reed Pop, they ask you if you've been published by any of the main 5 publishers in the last like 2 or 3 years, and if you've done a Reed Pop show in the last 2 years, and that's like 2 of the requirements to get a table.
Yeah, I don't know. It used to be. And I don't know what other shows do it, but used to be you could get invited up as a guest and then you're a guest. And now for Emerald City, you have to apply to get a table. And then even if you're considered a guest, they're going to ask you to pay for your table unless you're, a big draw. So I used to get a comp table there. I used to be a guest there. I used to get my table. And now, I would have to add on table fees onto already expensive flights and pretty expensive hotels. So.
And everything else.
And Emerald City tables aren't cheap for Artist Alley.
Yeah, I haven't even looked, but I assume.
I was asking about Emerald City if you've been up here because we have so many good breweries. So if you find yourself up here, let me know and let us know, and we'll guide you around the city for the right beer to drink.
I have a friend who owns a comic book shop in Tacoma. I'm gonna get the name of the shop wrong, but he also runs Jet City Comic Con or Jet City Comic Show. Brian.
I'll be at Jet City.
My friend Brian, I think he runs that show, and he's a big beer guy. So I want to go to Tacoma. I'll probably go to Tacoma here, maybe not next year, but maybe in a year or two, just basically to hang out. And
yeah, well, keep us posted, man. I'd love to buy you around. That's awesome. Because you got to go. You got to check out. There's quite a. I mean, dude, the fucking breweries up here, man, have exploded. They're all over the place, and. I mean, you could throw a rock and hit a brewery here. It's crazy.
Breweries and pot shops everywhere you go.
Yeah, breweries and pot shops. That's exactly right. But just in Woodinville, Woodinville is like this little suburb northeast of Seattle, and a lot of people from Microsoft live in Woodinville. It's kind of bougie in some ways to live there. But they have a huge wine scene, so they have wineries up the yang there. But then they also have a bunch of breweries, and some of them is like the Raven Brewery. Black Raven is really good. And there's one called Triple Horn is really, really good. They're just like a big open loft style. When you walk in, they got the big, what do they call the big cylinders that they actually put the wort into to ferment the beer?
Right.
They have those all.
Yeah, that's how it is here.
Yeah, and it's just awesome. I mean, you walk in and all you smell is the yeast. And they have a bunch of stuff. They have a little one called the Dirty Bucket, which I really like. when Scott was on, I actually drank a beer because I couldn't get one now because I was at work. I'm still at work, so I figured I'd just do it here. But when we had Scott on, I think it was like a Saturday or something, and I went to Silver City, which is a small town on the peninsula called from Silverdale, and they had a lager, which is a Ziggy Zoggy, which was really good. It's got a low APV, which is nice because I don't like my beer to feel like it just fills my mouth to where I can't enjoy it, you know?
Right.
And I don't want to be full too fast. I like a good IPA, but the things with IPAs is that you drink them and you know, after one and a half, I'm full.
Yeah. No,
you know?
some of them can be a meal. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not, if they're a meal, I'm probably not going to really like it.
Sure.
If it's a light, then it's good. Do you know the story of IPA?
You talking to me or John?
No, you.
Oh, I know. He told when Scott was on, so I know it now.
Oh,
yeah. Do you know what?
Yeah.
Indian Pale Ale. Why they call it an Indian Pale Ale?
Yeah, it was made for the British people in India, so it wouldn't go bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like. That's my one beer fact that I know.
Yeah. I definitely need to. Scott and I should probably maybe watch some YouTube tutorials on how to discuss one's palate and properly dissect and talk about.
Just fake it till you make it.
Because all I know is what I like and what I don't like. So.
Yeah, but that's better.
That's all that matters.
When you listen to a review or read a review, when they're too hoity about it, then it's just like, okay, now I can't even take it seriously.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I'd rather listen to somebody or read something where somebody gave me an honest opinion of what they felt. You know, because it's just like, ugh. But you can always fake it till you make it.
That's what I do.
Have you ever made your own beer?
I did once a couple of years ago, but it didn't turn out. It never carbonated. So after the 30 days or whatever, where it was supposed to condition in the bottles, it poured flat. And I don't know if it's because I'm at elevation or, I was cooking my wort on a gas or on an electric stove because I didn't have a gas stove, so it was hard to keep the temperature. It's hard to keep the right temperature for the whole time. So I don't know if that had to do with it or what. But
do you remember the TV show called Good Eats with Alton Brown?
Yeah,
on Food Network.
Yep.
So, like in the late '90s, early 2000s, he did an episode of making beer. And me and my brother watched it, and we're like, "Oh my God, we're fucking doing this. We're doing it." And we went down and we looked up online, and we found this place called Homebrew in Redmond, Washington. And we went there and we bought all the stuff, right? And they had like this basically like pre-done malt and everything.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And it was like a beer in a can, basically, right?
Right.
And so we bought all that, and this is kind of funny because we put it all together, and it turned out really good, but. You know how you have to, when you make your wort and you got it in the carboy and you stick it someplace dark and cool, we stuck it underneath the stairs. Hence, we called our first beer we ever made Harry Potter Ale.
Oh, there you go.
Because it was underneath the stairs.
Right.
Yeah. And we had that, and people liked it, but it was like, you know, to be fair, it was all basically pre-made, just had to throw all the stuff together. And then after that, though, we started making a bunch of different styles of beers. And now my brother, he went off. I mean, that became his, you know, as we were talking before, his creative outlet. And he's got, you know, thousands of dollars wrapped up into making beer. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah. I might just
all from doing this.
Yeah.
First
I just
one.
moved into a new place that has a gas stove. So I think I might try it again now that I can keep the boil at the right temperature a lot easier, I think. So I might give it another go here later this year, I think.
I think you should do it, man. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Then you guys send one to Scott, so when you guys are doing your show, you guys can talk about it.
Yeah, he could buy one.
There you go. There you go. So you're running. Here's a perfect another segue. What is Acme?
Okay.
Is it Acme?
Yeah. It's the Arizona. So I'll be honest. I wanted an acronym for it, so I made the name of the event fit the acronym. So it's the Arizona Comic.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Arizona Comic Mini Expo, and it's basically so long story quick is there used to be a store here in Phoenix called Samurai Comics, it's called Atomic Comics, and the owner would fly in guests every year for Free Comic Book Day and have a big party, big Free Comic Book Day event.
Oh, cool.
And then that store went out of business, and I wanted to continue that tradition. So my friend Mike Banks, he runs 3 comic book stores here in the Valley called Samurai Comics, and he was interested in partnering up and basically continuing that tradition. So in association with Samurai Comics, I bring in 1 or 2 guests every year, and we get about 10 local guys who are all. I mean, we have a big group of pros here, like not as close as like Portland or anything like that, but we have a good solid core here. So I can have 6 to 10 local guests who have all done published professional work, and then I bring in 1 or 2 national guests every year, and we just have like a full day event, and then it's essentially a way for me to fly in friends of mine, and we can all hang out for the weekend. So so this past year we had Tim
awesome.
Seeley and Mike Norton. In the past we've had Eric Canetti, Eric Larson, Stuart Immonen, Catherine Immonen. So a lot of cool people have come out. So yeah, it's a one-day event, basically a one-day Comic-Con.
How did you even get a hold of these people to have them come in like that? I mean, just through personal connections?
Yeah, most of them. I'm trying to think of. I guess everyone that's come out I've known, except
through some form or fashion.
Yeah, except for Stuart and Catherine Immonen. That was just a blind. I just contacted them through their website. It was just a blind email, and they said it sounded like fun. But everyone else I'd known at least in passing, or enough to have their like email account or something like that. So do they come in for Free Comic Book Day, or do you try to get it around that, or do you just set a date? Because now it looks like you're having it in May. Is that right? It's always on Free Comic Book Day, just because there's already a built-in audience there. So the store that we hold it at, has about, I'd say 2,000 to 3,000 people go through the store on that Saturday. So it's pretty well attended, and in the last like 5 years, it's gotten to the point where I think people kind of expect to see, 5 to 10 to 15 really solid creators at that one store. So we essentially set it up as like a Comic-Con, a one-day Comic-Con inside of a comic book store. So.
Oh, do you guys charge admission or?
No, everything's free.
Wow. That's awesome, man.
Awesome.
That's some serious passion right there.
That's
yeah.
really awesome.
We need a Ryan Cody up here doing that with the comic book stores we have. Because that's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I guess I'm sure if you guys travel down to Portland, all their stores probably have really good Free Comic Book Day guests, just because
they do.
It's all right there.
Well, we don't get that up here in Seattle. We get Free Comic Book Day, obviously, but I think maybe Comic Dungeon on 45th might do some stuff.
There's a place in Tacoma that usually has Greg Rucka and some of the people there every year for Free Comic.
Yeah. But they don't promote it very well because you don't really hear about it.
I only heard about it because my buddy Ryan Fisher was also there, who put out Torchlight Lullaby. He was also there with Greg Rucka. So that's the only reason why I knew that he was going to be there, is because he's like, oh yeah, Greg's going to be there too. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. No wonder why no one said anything.
That's a cool concept and idea. I like that a lot. Now it kind of makes me want to like look around and find one that's going on locally at least.
Yeah, the store in Silverdale does. They do like local creators that come in. They don't do like anybody big, but they'll have there's 3 or 4 guys locally in Silverdale who do some like self-published comics, and they set up tables for Free Comic Day there every year.
Yeah. Huh. I'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, it's fun, and like I said, I because I know these guys, it's I can get like Scott out there, and Mitch Garrett's out there because he's another local guy and he's a friend. So without too much effort, I can get 4 or 5 local pros who do monthly work for Marvel or DC, and then I'll bring in a couple people, and then we'll get some really great local guys who do some really great work. We'll have them out too. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm lucky I get to do it because basically I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I run the whole thing, and I'm allowed to do whatever I want, and it's awesome. Fun. I enjoy doing it.
I mean, that sounds amazing. I mean, it really does. It makes me want to find something that's similar to that locally, and if I can't do that, then go down to Arizona and
talk to Russ at Mill Geek and do it there.
Yeah, maybe you guys should do it up there.
Yeah, the only thing with Yeah, I wonder if we could. I mean, that'd be an interesting thing. I mean, we'd have to find some local artists that would be available because I don't think we could afford to fly people in at this point.
I know some people.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do that because that sounds really cool. That just sounds fun, and it brings a lot of people into something that's pretty neat. I like it. Oh, I have to admit something, Ryan. And when I first heard the Tig show, and you guys have that, is he Scottish at the beginning?
Gary, he's Scottish, yeah.
Yeah, we liked it so much. We have an Australian at the beginning of ours. I was like, oh, that is so cool. I want to steal that. And I was going to tell Scott, but he told me that you're the driving force of the show. So I was like, well, I have to admit it to the guy that's actually probably thinking of all the ideas for the show.
Well, I think that idea was.
I want to say
Scott's.
Thank you for that.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. I think that idea, though, that was Scott's idea, if I remember correctly. He emailed me and he's like, do you think you could get Gary to record our intro? And I said, probably. So, yeah.
Well, it just sounds so cool, and it sounds a little bit more professional because our first couple episodes was just, I think our first episode was like me going, are we on? And then we
Super
just start,
professional,
you know, and then, hey, welcome to Spoiler Country, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, super professional. And then slowly we're starting to add like the intro music and then the guy talking, saying welcome to Spoiler Country. And now we're going to have him re-record and do our introductions so that we don't have to do an introduction for every episode.
Right, yeah.
Because we were actually doing a live introduction for every single thing and then trying to do all these things and to cut down on edit time more than anything.
Yeah, no, we got lucky and it makes it's classy. It sounds classy.
Yeah, he sounds great. The guy sounds really good. I was like, oh, that is awesome. That's a great idea. And I told Johnny, I was like, hey, man, I'm going to ask, because I got some friends that, from, as we all do, from all over the place. And I was like, maybe we get there. And within like 10 minutes, I swear, 15 minutes, Johnny's coming back. Hey, my buddy down in Australia sent us like 15 different takes already. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's cool.
And he sounded so good. We didn't even bother like asking anybody else. So it was great. Well, hey, we're an hour in already, and I don't want to monopolize all your time, Ryan. And we really, really appreciate you coming on. It was really educational and a lot of fun. And I hope that in the future, if we asked you to come on, you'd entertain the idea of coming on again.
Or if you want to come on, just message us and say, hey, I want to come on.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you want to promote anything, Ryan, if you got a new book coming out, or if you just want us to say, hey, man, do you mind mentioning that I'm open for commissions? And how to get a hold of you and all that kind of stuff. We're total podcast whores, man. We will totally pimp your shit as much as you want. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Cool. I mean, cause like we'll charge like companies that want us to do things for them. We're trying to get a sponsor now with a local company and hopefully we can get like even $50 a month from them to do whatever, Right. But when it comes to artists and to content creators, then we're always in your bag. So if you have something you want for us to mention, like when Acme is around the corner and you want to get people out there, I don't know who knows if we're help or not, but if we can, we'll totally mention it and put it out there. Or if you have new comic books coming out, or like I said, if you have commissions open, anything like that, you let us know and then we'll be more than happy to put that out there.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Ryan. Thanks, Johnny. So, wow, that was an amazing interview right there. What do you think?
It was fun to talk with. It was great. Besides the fact that I had to pause for a minute and hide and go deal with my kids, I don't think anybody noticed that, but it was awesome.
Oh, that must have been we were just talking shit about you the whole time.
Yeah, I came back like, oh, that fucking guy. But yeah, I just muted real quick and came back. Whatever.
No, it was cool. We had a good conversation about beer, about podcasts. We talked about my Patronus is a podcast.
Which is a beautiful name for a podcast. That's such a great name.
Yeah, it was a great name. It is a great name. I know he wanted to release it this month, but I think he's decided to reevaluate what he was doing because it required homework on the part of his guests. Right. And he didn't think anybody would actually want to be on because of the homework portion of it. So
I would do it. I'd do it.
Yeah, I would do it. The concept that he's come up with is what's your zen? What makes you go,
Yeah, what keeps you going?
during the creative outlet of what you're doing. So I think that's an awesome idea.
I think so too. Yeah, it's going to be. I'm excited for that one to start. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we learned about Doc Unknown, and then his first one, Villains, which we're both excited to go out and get now.
Even though he said don't do it, but we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah, of course. He said he doesn't like the look of it, which, I wish I would have asked him when he said he didn't like the look of it. Does he mean like the art of it, or does he mean like the paper being used and the coloring and all that kind of other
Probably,
parts of it?
being an artist myself, probably the art of it, I would say, is what he meant. But I don't want to speak for him. But that's just what I would assume he meant. Is he's improved as an artist now, and if it was me, you feel like you're better now, so your old stuff doesn't hold up to your new stuff.
Have you had a chance to go onto his website and look at his stuff?
Oh yeah, I have. I did that before the show.
With the people he knows, I'm shocked he's not doing some more mainstream stuff like Godleski.
Yeah, he's a fantastic artist. You probably do what you want to do. Maybe he wants to do more independent stuff, and he's comfortable doing that. And that's great.
Yeah. He made some really good. Go ahead.
I'd say, but he's definitely talented enough to be working for one of the bigger guys, one of the big two, or one of the Dark Horse or Image. He's definitely got the talent. So
yeah, and he made some really good points about people not wanting to do bad work, especially when they work for somebody like DC or Marvel.
Yeah,
be so easily replaced. And he actually made some points that when you and I talked about people kind of phoning it in on those bigger labels, that we didn't really think about.
Right. No, he did. Well, he also has. Him and Godleski, they have different views on that than we do. Even though I do draw and I do draw some comics, I've never done anything for the big guys, so I don't know that world. I've never been there before.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have that insight. And I agree. As an artist or a creator, you never want to turn in bad work, but there's definitely times where you turn in work for money.
Yeah, when we talked about the drop off, I don't think that we were referring so much to artists as we were to plot lines and plot holes.
Yeah, because I think what happens with the big two, we'll say big two because it's usually just Marvel and DC, is the writers and creators get stuck in these holes where the editors and the company want them to do certain things and they can't expand on certain storylines they want to do, and they have to make sure each issue has these certain things happening in them to tie into other issues, which could ultimately make an issue be not as good as it could have been. Maybe
when we talk about the big two, we don't say phoning it in on the creator side. Maybe it's more of their hands are tied where they're trapped into they're in a bucket and they can't get out of that bucket because of what's in front of them and what they're allowed to do and what they're required to do.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement right there.
Yeah. It's interesting. But I really want to thank Ryan Cody for coming on. We hope to have him on again soon or in the near future as things progress. Look out for his stuff. Super75studios.com is his website. Tigshow.com is the Illustrious Gentleman's website. Their podcast is a lot of fun. Before they start their podcast, they talk about what beer they're drinking, and they go into the websites and look at their ratings and where they got it and what it is, and it's a fun aspect. And then they drink the beer as they're having whatever discussion they have. They have some unique topics that they talk about, so it's always fun to see what other people are doing. And to be honest, we stole their intro idea, so and I was happy to admit that to him because I was like, man, I kind of want to tell him, but at the same time, because I didn't want him to go, oh, you guys suck, why are you stealing my idea? But it's just such a cool idea to have somebody from a foreign, with a cool accent do your intro.
Yeah, to be fair, their guy is Scottish, our guy is Australian. It's very different.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Exactly. But I almost asked my Scottish buddy at work to do ours as well. But when you had who you had do ours, and the guy did an amazing, fantastic job. And we're actually going to try to expand it to have him do a little bit more for us. Yeah.
His he goes by Death Invictus online. And if you've been in the webcomic world for anything more than like a year, you probably know who he is because he's a huge webcomic reader. And
cool.
He constantly talks with creators of webcomics, and he spent a lot of time with creators like myself and other people doing webcomics over the last 15 years, helping them edit stuff, all this stuff for, just basically for free because he loves doing it. I have never met anybody who reads more webcomics than that man because he reads them daily.
Yeah, then we should definitely have him on to talk about webcomics in the industry and how it is today compared to how it was when you started.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. So let's do that. Maybe we can get him on, and we won't use his real name because I know that it's not that he's trying to be secretive. I think he just has we'll just say a public type job in his home country, and I think he just doesn't want certain individuals to follow him. I guess it's not the way to put it.
He's an assassin for the Australian government. He can't put his real name out there. So we got to keep it quiet.
There you go. If he tells us he has to kill us, then I don't.
Right. And I don't want to die by a boomerang. All right.
Right. He might send us on a walkabout in the desert, and we'd never come back.
Right. Anyway.
So stupid.
Whatever.
Now he definitely doesn't want to come on.
No. Now he'll want to come on more. Knowing him.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks a lot for listening. Go check out Ryan Cody. Thanks again to Ryan Cody. That was an awesome, fun time. We really do want to have you back. We really hope to have you on soon. And we will see you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.